Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back with another episode at the THN, the Healing Network. I am your host, Chelsea T. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, you know what to do. Go on IG and check out that health page where I represent all things body. Just try to motivate us and keep us active because this is what I do. Self-help, self-products, motivating you guys to change today, if that's what you're looking for. But let's get into it. We are back with part 2 because we left off with so much. I try to do it in one part, but this is part 2 because we have got all of their delicious backstory about all the magic shows going on in the church. And now we're going to get to the meat of their situation of how did she actually get through this? So, buckle up, grab something to drink, put your headphones in, relax. If you're at work, get to the money, into the coins. But we have got to talk about this and make a change, and you can make a difference. Stick through it. You are going to see how this love story has a surprising end. Let's get into it.
Ask me a question.
Who? Because I'm like, you've been gone for 4 weeks.
Come on.
I'm like, you are in Richmond, Virginia.
I am not you.
You know.
Thank you. That's how you know somebody is lying, because when they ask you about something that they would do,
I am not you.
So the first thing I told her, I said, keep the baby.
Yep.
I'll help you.
Right. Which was a miracle.
Because the plan was always, if something ever happened, we got to get an abortion.
We always knew that.
You know, we don't want anything to interrupt our future,
our
life, and so on and so forth.
So I like that they said that, and I'm sure he wasn't going to let her skip past that, because that was his reasoning of, she's trying to, or I should say that was his wake-up call to say maybe she's not as innocent as I thought. So this is when the relationship really gets toxic, and you'll kind of hear how the dynamics and the power play kind of went back and forth. But you can see that this pregnancy really was a power play for her. And to kind of hear him express like, we kind of had our plan already about, if this were to happen, it's just really unfortunate, because it just shows that, she was using you just as much as you used her. Like, yes, she said she agreed to that, but come on, like, at the end of the day, that's why she waited 4 weeks. And that's why before we got that little bit of information that they've had a conversation to, unalive. Yeah, so it's just so interesting, because if you really find out, I'm sure his brother's, his father, he probably seen this in his parents' relationship, because I'm sorry, you're not creative. If you're a cheater, or, you're not creative. If you're a drug addict, you're not creative. We've had generations of people being drug addicts or cheaters or liars. So it's just always so fun to hear like, that's why you had made that little comment, or, that's where that comes from. Yeah. Give people time. It'll come out. It will come out.
But when she got home a week or two later, we only lived a half a mile from each other.
Right.
So we met up at
half a mile.
Yes, half a mile. We went to different high schools, though, thank God, because if we went to the same high school, it wouldn't have worked. But we went to different high schools.
So we met up when she got back from Richmond. And I met up with her, and I'm like, we're going to keep this thing pushing. We're going to have the baby.
He was radically saved, going to church, living for Jesus, just changed his life completely. And then after we got married, about a couple months after we got married, he looked at me and said, I never had fun. And I didn't know what that meant.
As an adult.
Literally, he backslid for 5 years. Yeah. So he left this holy lifestyle back to smoking weed, drinking, chasing women. We would fight. Our house became the party house because my relationship with Jesus was attached to him. So if he went to church, I went to church. If he didn't.
So that is excellent, because this is really showing that you can be, we all know this, you can be in church and not follow God. And this is just a prime example of what that looks like. And these are the red flags that just make me so upset, because a lot of people get turned away from God because of this behavior. a lot of people lose their faith because they're like, well, if I'm in the church and she getting ran through like this, what's the point? Why would I You get me? So this is just so sad to hear. He's talking about I never had fun. So wait a minute. You guys are telling me that all that cheating and, you my starter and all that stuff, that was just the beginning? Yeah. This is why, yeah. Let's keep going. Whew. Get that relationship for yourself. God tells us that we're all required to have our own relationship, and this is why. Mind you, she's telling me she did all these decisions because she's head over heels in love. She willing to do anything. This is a certified ride or die. Yeah. This is just, skin is just boiling. I just, okay. Let's get back to it.
To church, I didn't go to church, and it is a form of idol worship, which I know that now. But he was my connection to Jesus. So at that time, I was chasing with knives, trying to jump on hoods of cars, fighting women. That was kind of a common thing. We were living in Section 8 housing on food stamps, having children, and it got so crazy that one day I said, I can't do this anymore because someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to either go to jail or get killed. Seriously.
So basically, Jasmine Sullivan, I broke the windows out your car was your theme song of your marriage. And
no problem.
You over here jumping on hoods.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Finding him at clubs, confronting just the whole thing.
So help me understand that. So what happened to where you find yourself on the hood? He's in the car?
Yeah.
I just, keep in mind, this was a scholarship pianist. But that's what toxicity will do to you. You will do things that you never imagined that you would do. But in that moment, it makes perfect sense. You will feel justified. I'm telling you, that situation will give you ideas that say, oh, I need to do this because this sucker gonna learn. He gonna learn today. Oh, look at her. She now jumping on cars.
I'm trying to leave.
Oh, so he's in the car. He ain't with the woman.
No.
She would sometimes hide my keys and help me look for him. That's how bad it was.
You would hide the keys and help him look.
Yes, be hunting. Where could they be?
And then yeah. And then back then you didn't have GPS. We didn't have cell phones. And so my friends would be like, "Hey, Reggie, man, your wife found us. She in the club."
Yeah.
How would you find them?
I had mental GPS.
All my friends call her.
That's right. Well,
they call her to this day, Detective Kelly.
I can find anything. I would check mileage. I'd find hairs in the car.
Finding anything but the truth, because sometimes I feel like those situations constantly keep happening to you to kind of give you reassurance for yourself. And so you kind of have that, and everyone gets to make their choice, where you can either use those instances as reasonings to strengthen yourself and walk away, or you will use those instances as reasons to go harder and to do more, and it kind of just, you spiral. And so I think we're about to start hearing about her spiral, and who could blame her? But I wouldn't wish this for nobody.
Whose hair is this?
Hair fibers. So you missed your college. You're supposed to work for forensics.
Well, sure. I actually ended up working for the police, actually. But
you did?
For 13 years.
So finally, I was about...
Yes,
this
sir.
is true.
Yeah.
So I finally was like,
13
I'm going to leave him.
years.
At this point, I was working my way out of poverty. I got the job with the police department, and my aunt found me a job in Virginia to have me work there.
So somewhere between her college, or her decision to not go to college and have her baby start her family, and her stint of being in the police for 13 years, I know they're not going to tell us everything. I know this is an interview where they're promoting their product. They're kind of giving you reasons to buy their product and also trying to encourage people. So I get that. But we are really about to see what was really going on.
Because I was going to leave. It was really bad. And I had my 2 babies with me trying to leave, and I put my hand on the door. And I'm not going to say God told me to stay or leave, but I felt like I couldn't leave. And I cried because I felt like I can't leave. I can't leave. And I went to bed that night, and I had a dream of him preaching.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning. Well, first of all, you were upset that I was still home.
Yeah, because I got home. I'm like, I thought you were moving to Virginia with the 2 kids. And she said, I had a dream that you became a preacher. I said, that's not going to happen.
Right.
I said, just because my dad does that means I got to be disciplined and committed. And I'm not trying to be either one.
Right. And he said, I'm going to keep on smoking this weed and chasing these women.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
I just love that he did note that he understands that being a preacher or of any sort of church, anything, religious, anything, whatever you want to call it, it required discipline. So that really showed why they really connected and why their bond was what their bond was. So I just want to give a little summary here. It sounds like they connected on being honest at first. And it sounds like he really didn't agree with how his family lived and displayed their family life, because even though they just gave us that rundown of a traumatic and all these different opportunities to kind of turn their lives around, his core belief is, listen, I know you got to be very disciplined and I'm not doing that. So it's just so interesting that their environment down to their family members who sounds like they're heavily involved, and even if they weren't heavily involved, they've had some knowledge of what God has told today. And it's just, that was an interesting statement. He knew what he had to do, but he said, I'm not doing that. So let's keep going.
One night, shortly after that, I was by myself because the marriage was still horrible, crashing. And I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Because, you have all these moments, God's amazing because you'll have moments of clarity and then moments of complete confusion. Yeah. And I was rocking back and forth. Remember, like, I'm going to lose my mind because he had left again. It's gone again. And I heard the enemy tell me, you should die. You're not worth, you're not worthy of anything. You should, end your life and he'll never love you and all this stuff. And somehow, some way I was able to call on the name of Jesus. And when I called on his name, I literally felt his arms wrap around me. And that was my first encounter. I wasn't at church. I was by myself. There was no music playing. The lights weren't dim. None of that. It was me and Jesus. And I had a radical heart shift from that moment. I got in my word, under my word. I just completely changed as a person. And I realized that God loves me, that God has a purpose and plan for my life, that God chose me, that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Yeah. So he would call me out my name. It wouldn't bother me because I allowed God's voice to be louder than his.
So this is QMeHealth.club, QMeHealth.club, QMeHealth.club. This sounds very good when you first hear it. And I'm struggling because I don't want to take away from her moment, because I believe that a real encounter with Jesus, meaning to experience that power, whether it's help, whether it's reassurance, love, whether it's an open door, it has to just be you and the Lord. So to hear her say, okay, her perception of, even when she was saying, it was a demon who was telling me he doesn't love you. Anybody who may have heard that situation in her real time, they probably would have said that to her. So you can just hear her confusion, but I'm glad that she, had this moment where she said, okay, I stepped in and I got into my word. But then she says, so when he called me out of my name, it wouldn't bother me. That just lets me know that you were low, like you were low. And I'm glad that you had that moment where you felt, the power of God by, Jesus. But this is when it becomes hard to hear, at least for me, because I feel like God would have made a way immediately to get her out of that. But I just don't think she was ready. And so this is why I wanted us to sit down and just take a listen to this story, even though it sounds like it's so obvious. These are points in many of our lives, or many of our friends or people who are close to us. We've seen these points where, to us it's perfectly clear, but to them you can see their cloudiness. And I can tell at that point she didn't have any support. And so this is just so heart-wrenching, because you want to cuss her out, but you also understand, just if you have any compassion, you'll understand that this is what they meant by the low self-worth. Because now he's calling her out of her name. Clearly something, I'm sure he's done it. It was just less frequent. And now that when you're saying it here, it's probably every second. You know what I'm saying? It's probably every conversation they have, because they probably don't talk much at this point. But, it's bad. It's low. So, let's keep going.
And when I was going through transition of him not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you, right. I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I would say, you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet.
And we're back. Let's go.
Crashing, and I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Because, you have all these moments, God's amazing, because you'll have moments of clarity and then moments of complete confusion. Yeah. And I was rocking back and forth. Remember, I'm going to lose my mind, because he had left again, it's gone again. And I heard the enemy tell me, you should die. You're not you're not worthy of anything. You should, end your life, and he'll never love you and all this stuff. And somehow, some way, I was able to call him the name of Jesus. And when I called on his name, I literally felt his arms wrap around me. And that was my first encounter. I wasn't at church. I was by myself. There was no music playing. The lights weren't dim. None of that. It was me and Jesus. And I had a radical heart shift from that moment. I got in my word, under my word. I just completely changed as a person. And I realized that God loves me, that God has a purpose and plan for my life, that God chose me, that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Yeah. So he would call me out my name. It wouldn't bother me, because I allowed God's voice to be louder than his. And when I was going through transition of him not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you, right. I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I would say, you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night. And these are all things I was graced to do. I would not encourage anybody to.
So, of course, we have to stop here, because this is why I think the clip went viral. Everyone was like, iron the clothes. We were all outraged. But unfortunately, this is a perspective change that we're witnessing here. Just stick with it. Just stick with it. I'm going to wrap it up, I promise. I'm going to tie this together.
To do that, unless you are graced by God to do this. But once I knew who I was, I realized, the enemy's after him. So I began to pray for him, not for my husband before, but as a soul. I didn't want him to be lost. Whether we made it or not, I didn't want him to be lost. I wanted him to be in his purpose, because of that one dream I had that lasted about 2 seconds.
And this is all.
So before he responds to that, I just want to highlight, the odd thing about this is that we all understand that the men are supposed to be the leaders, the heads, because that's biblically what is always talked about. And yet here we have this woman trying to pray her way through the cheating. That's what the world is hearing. Even though her reality is, her perspective is changing, she is growing in her mindset, meaning she had clearly identified, okay, I'm worshiping him like an idol, like his word was above God's. And so the statement just said, she finally put God's voice above his voice, her husband's. So we are witnessing this beautiful, wonderful turnaround and change of perspective, but sheesh, it's very discouraging, men. Very discouraging to hear this. This is why the ladies are like, no kids, they're not getting married, they've tapped out. It's complete and utter reverse of what we're supposed to be doing. But okay. Because we know in the Bible that there was a man of God who was assigned an actual hoe. Yeah, like she was doing everything but her man. But that wasn't physical, that was spiritual, but we won't get into it on this episode.
All true, because I can remember before she had this encounter with God, I would come home 2-3 days later, my clothes would be bleached.
Yeah.
I would find my toothbrush floating in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the blessings that she wasn't home because she would have probably died.
Oh, I have wisdom. Yeah, wisdom says you leave after you do that.
I'm looking at my K-Swiss back then. I'm looking at my IOU sweater, my jeans.
Yeah, I bleached it all.
I bleached. And so weeks later, now I'm coming home 2-3 days later, and she's like, what do you want for dinner?
Yep.
You're like, I don't know if I'm going to eat that. You're going to poison me.
I said she's going to kill me.
Right.
I'm sleeping with one eye open.
Yes. I read his bathwater.
You're acting too nice right now.
I'm like, wait a minute now. You know, I've been gone for 72 hours.
Yes.
Why are you treating me nice?
Right.
You want to... then I'm looking to make sure she don't throw grease on me.
Right.
You know, all of that. But then I started waking up with crosses on my head.
Because the mothers of the church said, pray for him with anointed oil. And I couldn't afford olive oil, so I just got the Crisco at home and blessed it. And I just put it on his head and his hands and his feet. He wake up all greasy.
Yeah. Looking like 3-day-old chicken.
Right.
Yeah, greasy and hungover. He'd be like, what are you doing?
And then she would tell me, you gonna preach? I'm like, no, I'm not. Proverbs 18:21, of course, says death and life is in the power of the tongue.
Eat the fruit there.
That's right.
And she would speak those
and
things.
And he would not go to church.
No.
I would always be there. Yeah. And then he would call me a holy roller. Then he'd get me mad, and then I'd end up cussing him out. He'd be like, where's Jesus now? You know.
He was been a devil in your life.
Yes, he was.
So Reggie, when you were hearing her say this, and this is conflicting with your spirit, because of course she's battling against the evil spirit that's inside you. She's warring against that. What in your subconscious, because there's always moments where in the Bible it says the prodigal son says.
So I just want to pause this because I feel like they're saying that the evil spirit that she's warring against, you're telling me that now the girl is finally deciding to pretty much stand up for herself by just shaking up the table, causing a little get back in her relationship. That's warring?
And he came to himself.
Right.
So in those moments where that battle is taking place, what were you thinking internally, even though your mouth may be uttering, you crazy, you this, but the words that you weren't saying? Can you go back to that moment and tell me internally what were you saying? What were you seeing your ass?
Good question.
I saw her as the enemy. Right. You know, I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to stay black and die. And like she said, and chase women, smoke weed. That's where my mind was, because I've been overtaken.
Yeah.
You know, I was having fun. Even the Bible says that sin is good for a season. So I was having a phenomenal time. The last thing I wanted to be was connected to her, connected to the church.
Right.
Because then that's work.
So why did you stay? Why were you still coming home?
Because I had 2 kids. Well, then by that time we had 3. I was always a phenomenal father. I was a horrible husband.
Yeah, he was.
You know, but when it came to my kids, you know what I'm saying?
And so you looked at being outside the home.
I have to stop it. Phenomenal father. I'm not sure, sir. Your kids are watching you do mommy dirty. They're experiencing the same chaos that you experienced growing up. This is what we be talking about. This is the definition of generational curses. Simply just people behaving poorly. They know that they should behave in other manners, but unfortunately, even though they know it, their actions continue to do otherwise. It's just what your heart want to do. Just say that. It's okay. It's okay, baby. It's okay. You don't have to just say, oh, I was just trying to be a father. No. You think all you got to do is take care of the kids and everything else. I could live my life. I'm in my sin season. This logic is beyond me. Beyond me.
As a failure, but you had to stay in the household, right? No matter how you showed up as a husband, but you wasn't going to relinquish your responsibility as a father.
I would tell her all the time, I'm not going to let another. I had 2 daughters who are right now 31 and 29, and I always told her I'm not going to let another man come here and feed my children, my daughters especially. That's not going to happen on my watch. So I just said, well, and plus I came from a 2-parent home. Even though my dad had 10 kids by 6 different women, he married my mom and had me and my 3 sisters.
Right.
So before that, he had 6 kids.
Yeah.
So coming from a 2-parent home, that's all I.
Goodness gracious, Daddy had 10 kids. I think he said 2 sisters and him, so maybe 3 or 4 kids with his wife, but 6 kids? That's a treacherous life that woman had. She living just like his grandmama. She is her grandmother. Oh my goodness. Oh. But I grew up in a 2-family home. That's what he said. Jesus.
I knew. So I'm like, we just gonna work this out. So I came from.
I have to finish the statement. This is why the kids, the generation, the people are like, well, I'm just not gonna do it, because they're saying if this is what is quality to you guys, because it's a 2-parent home, and this still goes on, men and women are not buying this. Not all of us, but there are people out here. We're not going for this. We're not living like this. Just because granddaddy and grandmama lived like that, where he had 6 different love affairs, pretty much. That was his thing. He loved to go out, find a woman and have that fantasy. Oh, he's so perfect. Oh, he loves me so much. Just for him to say, sorry, I got a wife, I gotta go. That's what his granddaddy loved. Oh my goodness.
Function.
And that was our normal. So there was even one time one of his girlfriends came to my job to confront me because she found out about me. And I'd be like, chick, I'm the wife. But anyway, she asked me.
She came to confront you because she found out
about me.
She had to explain to her, I worked 2 jobs.
I go, why would I get rid of him?
2 jobs?
He works 2 jobs. Sometimes you can't afford divorce. I'm like, he's making rent. You know, we got to work this out.
I'm going to just be quiet because they're older. So it's kind of not making sense, but I'm going to just be quiet.
And I let her know I'm not. And she's like, are you going to leave him? I'm like, no, I'm not leaving him. You know, I said, we're just work it out like we always.
Okay, that's what I have to say, because it's not making sense. Like, she wants to make it sound like, yeah, girl, I'm not leaving him. He got 2 jobs. Baby, just tell us that you told the girl you're not going nowhere and call it a day. But this is what women do. We will upplay something that is not worthy of any clap. She wanted us to be like, yeah, girl, you eat her up. I'm the wife. He got 2 jobs. But I promise you, in 2 seconds, we gonna find out she was working the 2 jobs. Where the money coming? Where's the money coming? Where's it coming from? Let's find out. I want to find out.
Always do, and she didn't understand that, but
she said she didn't understand.
You know,
so what she trying to do, get rid of you so she can keep you?
I guess.
That was the plan.
But
that was the plan.
Listen, he was financially an asset at that time, you know. but I did reach a point where I was tired, and I finally prayed the prayer. It was probably about 5 years into our process. Lord, do whatever it takes to save him. Because although I was going to church, praying, doing all this, it didn't seem to be making a difference.
Woman's favorite prayer. Lord, whatever it takes.
So this was going on for 5 years.
Sure.
When he had a reprobate mind.
Yes, completely. And I was working for the police department as a dispatcher. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I worked nights. He worked days because we couldn't afford daycare.
Yeah. I'm Kermit the Frog at this moment. This is T.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you say you got the call and it was him?
It was him. Committing armed robbery.
Yeah.
Caught him.
Sorry, guys.
I was arrested.
People are enjoying this
So he is now facing 7 to 21.
beautiful day. It's summer, June 2025. People are out and about. So if you hear all that noise in the background, I apologize. I am outside. Okay, let's continue.
years in prison.
Yeah.
Into 21.
I got off the floor, told my sergeant what happened because I didn't want to lose my job because you can't be married to a criminal.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't know what he was doing. And my first thought was, who has my kids? Because it was 3 a.m. But
I had my baby sister. She would come in and watch the kids while I'm out.
He robbed people.
And I kept a few dollars in her pocket.
Oh, this is an ongoing thing you used to do. You never knew you was robbing.
No,
it was ongoing.
And had no idea because he was a psych tech during the day. And a robber at night.
Yeah.
Call about double-minded. This is what I was living with.
Yeah.
And so I finally...
Let me tell y'all something. I never knew all this when I invited him on the podcast.
Right.
This is a whole different story.
Yeah.
Just a marriage I found fascinating. This right here, this is a whole movie.
It is.
It's a whole
So he was in jail for 3 days. You can take it.
And then during that day 3, I was on the top bunk. I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. I had a Bible in my hand. I'm reading the Bible. 3 seconds later, they said, still roll up over the intercom. And I looked at my bunkie. He was down under me. And I said, hey, man, did they say still? He said, I think so. So I go up to the front, and they say, yeah, you've been bonded out. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you've been bonded out. So when I got out in the parking lot, I saw my wife out there and my mom and dad. I looked at my dad. I said, I'm ready to be a preacher.
True story. That was the conversion.
That was the conversion. Listen, when God did that in 3 seconds.
Okay, so remember, like I said, this better be a major turnaround. From here on out, their stories should be straight redemption. Let's find out.
It's not 3 minutes, not 30 minutes. When I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. 3 seconds later, they said, still roll up. And when I went outside, I told my dad I'm ready to accept my call. And you know what, my dad, the best thing he ever did, he said, well, if you want to be a preacher now that you're in all this trouble, he said, you and Kelly clean my church every Monday and Thursday, and then I'll let you preach in the next year. And so every month,
do that for a year.
And I'm grateful for my dad because he gave me a mop and not a mic. Because,
Amen.
Till I was 24 years old. And I didn't start preaching until I was 25, which is, I'm 53 now. So we're talking 28 years ago.
Right.
And we cleaned that church every Monday.
There it is. That's the story. Okay, so now I'm going to let this really play because I got what's going on here. That story that he just said pretty much cleaned it up because now they're back to the beginning of their relationship where they, you know, how they really got involved in the church and how he was pretty much prepared to be a pastor, a leader, and kind of start his own church. So they shared excellent points that a lot of people can relate to. And a lot of people can understand how that kind of built up to this. That's why she, you know, kind of referenced, you know, the mothers in the church, they said, you know, make these prayers and do these things. This is a very common experience in the community. People who do decide to partake in marriage because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a precious goal. It's more so the way that the generations have shaped going about it and sticking in it that has left so many people discouraged and so many people saying, even though you have this great, you know, turnaround end of, I guess things are okay. And honestly, from the look of it, things don't look good with them. But that's what she's saying. And she's saying she's happy and he's saying they're happy. So, you know, I'll let this wrap up and show how they turned it around. But this was just really, really hard to hear. And when he kind of, you know, finished the statement of, he said his prayer because he had went to jail and now he's going to turn his life around. Now it's making sense, all the other previous stories that they shared.
And then I preached a message January 1997 called Roll with the Punches.
Right.
Out of 1 Peter 4:12, thinking not strange concerning fiery trials. So Romans 8:28 says, and we know all things work together for the good to them that love God
and are
called according to his purpose. And speaking of purpose, see, I think part of the problem with a lot of people that are married or not married, they're looking more for preference over purpose. I believe that this is my purpose.
Right.
Because she really wasn't my preference.
I wasn't.
That's
but when
crazy.
she opened the door at 17 years old and I was 18, and I said, "Oh my God," and she said, "What?" I said, "You're my
crazy. If your wife doesn't drive you sexually insane, you're not even supposed to get married. He says, if you burn, marry. Otherwise, make the commitment to be celibate. You gotta catch all of the... Jesus be giving us tools, okay? And now you didn't say all that just to come to the conclusion, oh, it's just because she wasn't my purpose. I'm sorry. You've come to the conclusion that it simply was because she wasn't my preference, but she's my purpose. So now I'm ready to turn around. So sin can be correlated to unpurposeful. Even though it's fun, it's just not purposeful. So even though you are allowed a sin season according to the word, don't stay in there too long because it's not purposeful. Because you'll miss the wife that you were given. She's the purpose. What? What? People get married because the husband is like, listen, I'll do anything for her. We see it. And then you turn around and give us this. The Healing Network. Just to be another human being, to be another voice and a reminder that this is not normal. This is not what the Lord is talking about. Keep the faith. Don't lose it. Don't lose it.
Yep.
I knew it.
Yep.
And here I am in a backslidden condition, but I knew she was my wife.
Right.
Straight up. We need people to start kind of looking more for purpose than preference.
That's right.
Listen, I want y'all to just keep on talking because I'm going to show y'all an episode in my first season called Preference versus Purpose.
Oh.
That was the first thing that's what God told me way back then.
Season 1. Because I knew I wasn't his preference. My husband dated little Latina girls with long hair and big titties.
You gotta remember, I'm from Arizona.
In fact, when he first met me, he's like, you're cute, but you're a little heavier than what I'm used to. And I go, well, what are you used to? He's like, I'm used to...
She's literally, that's why they're together. She still fits the Latina big boob. She's a light skin, her titties look big. Stop the cap. Y'all gonna stop capping. Lies hurt you. It does not hurt the people that you're lying to. Lies hurt you. Oh my God.
$1.20, $1.25. I said, well, I'm almost $2. So I don't know what to say here.
I'm almost $2. I love it. So why are you so self-aware though? How did you become that?
Self-aware.
I guess I'm just a realist when it comes to it. I understand. It is what it is. I mean, just because I'm not his preference don't mean he's not going to, like this. I mean, he's been coming back for 32 years.
Well, 35 this December. If you add up the other years.
But some people may look at that as you have low self-esteem.
Probably, maybe. I had no worth, and I said
he tried to humble her.
I didn't know who I was, and I was just very, open and honest about that. But I was confident that we should be together. It's very unique.
And so a lot of stuff that y'all are saying is going to trigger a lot of women. Mm-hmm. They're going to look at it like, see, that's that struggle love they're talking about. I don't want it.
Right.
I don't want the struggle love. I don't want to have to deal with a man that has to go through all that and me lower my standard, lower my value, lower everything that I know that I am as a woman to work through the cultivation of a man. For a man to be in this broken state, disrespectful, calling me out my name, parading women in front of me, and then I'm going to pray for his deliverance and pray, no, God, I need the reformed man. Bring me the man that after he's been set free and delivered. I don't want that process.
They want that finished
Ooh, I'm glad I didn't. Okay, let him say that part.
product.
So my question
Finished
is,
product.
only you can say.
The host just said, and he ate it right up, the generation is saying we're not doing that struggle. Love, we're not doing that. We don't want to be a part of the cultivation process. We want the reformed process. And then his next statement says, people want the finished product. Help us. Help us, Lord. Cultivation is the Lord's work. If you come in raggedy to your relationship, it's going to stay raggedy because you're not cultivating, sir. So are you out of the same breath going to tell other women now that you better get in line with this cultivation process? Is that what he's about to say? What is he going to say about finished product? Because I think this is blasphemous, if you ask me. What is he going to say about this finished product? What is he going to say?
Say that, what would you, because I don't even want to say advice, how can you reframe or state, because this is your story, this is your journey.
My story.
It's your story.
Right.
Sure. What would you say to the women that may be looking at this and saying, see, that's that nonsense they talking about?
Well, I would say that's why you're single still. Because I'm sure somebody had been in your life already.
You don't pick the fight.
And
I have to pause it here because I know she thinks she ate, but this is what the community is saying. You guys have prescribed this type of relationship where someone's cheating and another person just has to simply stick it out until it stops. This is literally what she's about to say when she explains that comment of, this is why women are single. That's why it's so hypocritical. Like, what is your real message then? If you guys are saying, yes, we've overcome the toxicity and cheating, which only refers back to what she wanted as a little girl was, Mom, I wish you would have never divorced Father. You should have just stuck it out and her family would have been fine. The mom was doing the Lord's work. Even Jesus said, don't separate least for fornication. That means adultery, that they have broken their promise. That marriage is a promise of we are going to be solid, not to each other. We solid to God. And we understand that sex, I can't stop getting it popping. So let me find my wife or let my husband find me so that I can keep my partner. We can now get it popping all day, every day, or whatever fits for us and still serve our purpose with God. But these people are presenting it as, listen, the Lord is telling us to stick with it through someone's cultivation journey. That is the disposition. I'm telling you, when I finish this video, you guys are going to be like, how are you getting to this conclusion? Just wait.
You didn't want to give the investment for that person to become somebody, and then you lost them probably a long time ago. And you should have just worked with them from the beginning and just worked out the kinks and worked it out, because a man can always build. Money can always be made, and that's what we do. We build a life together. And I'm so thankful that that's what we've done. And that's why I think I value and love you so much, because we've built our life. And so they miss that building process because they want to come into it already done. Now, I get it. Eve was put on the earth with everything done. I get it. That's why women want things to be set and done, because Eve showed up and everything was named and it was just there.
Wow.
But at the same time, God can give women a resilience because we're a helpmeet.
So I love it because she did tell the bold-faced truth. What was that? Eve came and everything was done. So her purpose of being that helpmate started when everything was done. But okay, I'll let you go with it.
For a reason. And we're supposed to help meet the need and help complete the man. I know it's going to cause a fight with that too, but I'm very into that because I'm living it. I'm a living example of it works. When you line up your life and get behind your man that is following God, that's submitted to God, and you say, Lord, what can I do to make him better? Your life overall becomes better.
Here's the episode I was talking about. Take a look at that.
Oh, I lost it. Yeah, I get it back up.
It's right there.
Yeah.
I also want to know, I haven't heard him say once that he prayed for his wife. I just hear her in straight prayer for him, but okay. And I have to make that statement because we know that even God's order says it's God, it's the man, and then it's the woman. So why would her husband not even be praying for her? I'm sure he is, but I just wanted to note that he's never physically said it out loud, and she's noted that she prays for him more than once on this interview. Okay, let's go. Let's carry on.
Purpose versus preference.
My God.
Episode, that's my 7th episode.
Your seventh.
My
And how many
7th
years ago was
episode,
that?
5 years.
That was Revelation.
Yeah.
Because we got that.
It was
Yeah.
May the 27th. That's interesting. May the 27th of 2020, and it was episode number 7, which is episode 107, the first season. And it's called Purpose versus Preference with my friend Raquel Wesson.
My God.
And God was telling me that. He said, a lot of times we may look at people, and in dating, that's the first thing we're gonna look at. This is what I prefer. I prefer a man that's this, and this height, this look, this whatever.
666 sounds like the devil.
And what about that
She's
guy
got
that's
one thing,
5'8" with a gut that'll pay your bills?
Right.
That
And love you properly.
And love you properly.
You'll
and
know where he
ask
is
you
on the
for-
weekend.
That part.
He's not missing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this: we talk about you not being his preference. Was he your preference?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
What
The
did you
moment I
like
saw
about
him.
him?
I love his
course.
name.
We know
His
that.
name?
Yeah. I thought Reginald was such a great name, and then he just, he was the all athlete everything back then, and
He was a superstar.
See, I met his mom.
I bet you he's 6 feet. He probably was super in shape. He was just missing the 6 figures. But okay, sis, you didn't fall for that 666. No, you didn't fall for that.
When I was,
bit.
he was. I met his mom when I was 15, getting my hair done. She gave me his number. I thought he must be ugly because she's recruiting, because there's no social media. And so
she
I didn't
never
meet
called
her.
me.
I never called him. So 2 years later, I saw him at the mall with my dad, who was a teacher at the same high school.
Wait, so I can't skip by that. I think she said that she got his number from his ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend... No, I'm sorry. Let me back that up. She said she gave her phone number to her now husband, but back then she gave it to his ex-girlfriend and told her, give him my number. You letting me know what type of time you on.
School he went to.
Yeah.
He was looking at me, I was looking at him, but my dad's there, so that went away. About 6 months later, I was at a Black Youth Conference
Hold on, real
convention.
quick. Why was you with her daddy?
She was
No,
with
I
her.
was with my dad.
Oh,
This
you
is
were
at the
with
mall.
your dad.
At the mall.
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And so
And I knew her dad. He was a teacher at my high school.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And my dad goes, "Oh, that's Reggie Steele," and I'm like, "Whoa," because he's just so cute with his big old Letterman jacket.
So at that moment, did you connect that that's the same one
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
mom?
because I'd heard his name. Back then, And so
Teacher
6
in a-
months later, I was at
Te-
a convention
teacher and the preacher pipeline. I couldn't miss him. Sorry. Okay, let's keep going.
with a bunch of high school students, and this girl named I almost said her name, but she said, me and Reggie broke up, and I said, Reggie who? And she said, Reggie Steele, and this girl was not cute. And I said to myself, if she got him,
Hater.
She gave you
yeah,
the
she
number.
gave me the number.
Showing her real
Who did?
colors.
The ex-girl.
Who
Gave
does
you
that?
She gave his number. She gave me his number.
Listen, I know people judge all the time. That's just the first eyebrow raise. Anytime I hear a woman who's always like, just that negative comment, like, what does her being ugly or cute? If she was cute, would you have said it? Maybe that's the question I want to know. If everyone is, oh, she's ugly, if she was beautiful, would you have said that? Would you have told us she was beautiful, and even though I had low self-esteem, I still gave it a shot? I wish she would have said that. I would have had more respect. But this little comment of she wasn't even cute. I'm looking at you funny.
And she
And I called him, and I told him who I was.
Hold on, what made her give you the number? You asked for it?
Well, we didn't get along. So we were kind of rivals. So and he dogged her. So she's like, yeah, you go ahead. In other words, you need to get together too.
And
Oh,
the blessing is I ran into her
My
years
God.
later, and I said, thank you for
you.
giving Kelly Conway my number.
That's right.
I said,
no, he didn't. No, he didn't. So even though they went through that beautiful trail of this is how we got together, our parents hooked us up, we find out for real that she was just trying to take, he was the man, he was the man in school, he got all the girls, she trying to be number one. That's it, that's all this is. This was her journey to the top. And you trying to convince us this is the Lord's work.
So she's Kelly Steele now.
Yeah.
That's what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she was happy for us.
When I called him, I said, we found out we lived down the street from each other.
Yeah.
And he came over 2 days later.
Yep, sure
and that's
did.
when he opened the door and said, "Oh, no, you're my wife." And I believed him, and we've been together ever since.
Yeah.
So hold on.
You see how
Let's back up.
you
Now,
see how she tried to wrap that up
you show
all
up
cute.
and propose? What was that like?
He just saw me.
Yeah, when I saw her,
Oh, that was just so funny. But that's what our minds will do because that's what trauma looks like. This is just what trauma looks like. What toxicity, it's toxic. This is a toxic relationship. That's what a relationship that is toxic, this is what it will do to you. It will have you say all these horrific moments, and then you'll end it up with, yeah, so, he said I was going to be his wife, and I believed him. Girl, you just said 2 seconds ago you was fighting with the ex, telling her to give the number. This how y'all together. Okay,
when she opened the door, I said, "Oh no, you're my wife."
Now, your mom came home, though, at 15.
and told
said,
me, "I found this girl for you named
You gotta
Kelly
meet her."
Conway. Her dad's a
She
teacher
was
at your high
waiting
school.
for him
You gotta
since
meet her."
15?
At that time, I was 16. She was 15.
Jesus.
We didn't meet until we were 17, 18.
Yep.
We were seniors in high school.
They kept on coming back
But
around.
when that door opened and I looked at her, I said, "Oh no, you're my wife." I think it was, even though I wasn't a spiritual individual at the time, it was more spiritual.
Because one thing he said...
And I left her, I was at her house for 8 hours.
Yes, we left
We
to
just
talk.
love talking to
Yes.
each other. Normally, that would be an hour, 2 hour. All right, that's my max. I'm out.
No.
But I did 8 hours talking, just talking.
Yes.
And talking about talking.
Yeah.
We just had chemistry.
Connected.
We connected. And then after that, I saw her every day.
Every day.
I lived on 53rd Avenue in Peoria. She lived on 47th Avenue in Peoria. Again, a half a mile. So it was easy to get to her house. And so every day we saw each other. She was either at my house or I was at her house.
Right.
One thing I hated was that as the relationship evolved, I would have other girls at my house, and my mom would call her.
Yeah, and let
he
me
got
know.
this other girl at the house, but don't you worry about it, Kelly.
Yep.
He gonna marry you.
That's right.
Your mom used to say that?
And I'd be like, "Mom, why are you calling her? Why are you calling
She was
Kelly?"
snitching.
I'm going off. I'm like, I'm 18. You act like I'm in my 30s. Like, stop calling Kelly. Tell her you need to leave them other girls alone. My mama will go off. That's your wife.
Yeah.
She would say that to you.
My mom, because I was going to marry this other girl, and my mom said, "Reggie, if you marry that other girl, she not maternal, and she going to cheat on you.
Yep.
And she's not going to be a good mother." And, my mother, her words carry weight, and still, my mom's 73 almost, and her words still carry weight in my life right now. Matter of fact, since my dad transitioned, she just recently moved in with us, and because my wife was like, your mom can live here forever, because she's been my wife's mentor, and told her, hang in there.
Right.
My mom would say things, don't allow a bad chapter to end the story. Stick it out. He's worth hanging with. He's gonna be a preacher one day. These are things my mom was saying.
When he was far from it.
I used to look at my mom like, you crazy and she crazy.
We're crazy.
There's no way in the world I could be a preacher. I'm dyslexic and a felon. I got a learning disability. And I'm a felon. And y'all years
for a great man.
Yeah, and especially these last 20, because we've been pastoring now for 20 years this year.
Yep.
And even with that, my wife, I said, "Baby, all these other pastors won't give me any money." And I said, "I need your whole paycheck."
What?
We started Kingdom.
True.
$1,300.
I did.
We started in the flea market.
Oh my
With
goodness.
37 people.
Yeah,
now
she
we
built
got over
the dream.
10,000 members. A couple
This is what
thousand members
shares-
show up every Sunday.
Yeah.
This is what Share 7 is talking about when she says Bob the Builder. Like, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that one. I don't care. There will be an episode on that. Let's just give me some time. But this is what they mean. She built the future. I thought this was God's perfect. Okay.
on 10 acres in our 10th year of pastoring.
Yep.
You know, so God has been good.
He's been good.
But again.
So what would you say, Reggie, what would you say to the man that may look at his woman and say, see, I told you, there's hope for me after all. But he may be using that as manipulation to keep that woman in bondage to his foolishness.
I just love how the host is so on point with the questions. Even though there's so many beautiful and easy points to kind of stray from asking a question that doesn't really have any value, I just love how the host just keeps on asking valuable questions. That was a good one. How do you determine if it's just someone's foolishness? The man's gonna answer. Just listen.
Is there any word of advice you can give to give people a level of discernment and or give that man conviction if he tries to use your story as something to keep his wife in bondage?
Well, 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. You got to get to a place where you eventually man up and be who God has called you to be. You can't, you're aging, but you're not maturing.
Right.
It's time for you to turn the corner. And really be the whole and complete man that God has called you to be. That's what I would tell that man. I would tell him, you got to identify those things in your life so you can crucify them. Because what you don't confront, you can't conquer, because not everybody is wired like Kelly Steele.
Right.
Even when I started the church, I felt like every woman should be her. And I couldn't understand why women wouldn't fight for their marriage. I'm like, but my wife fought for me. And some of the women would tell me, I'm not Kelly.
Right.
And it took me a couple of years.
Right.
To realize, you don't have the grace.
No.
And so, and I can remember for years, my wife and my mother-in-law would tell me, we need to start a divorce care because some people are going to get divorced. And I'm like, nope, everybody's going to stay married. We're not going to have any casualties. But then I realized Malachi 2:16 says that God, he hates divorce. He does not hate us, but he hates how the enemy works. We need to start a divorce care. So we started that to help people land back on their feet.
Right.
But our first suggestion is, let's get you in here. Let's get you some therapy so you will fight for your marriage. But then there's some that are like, you know what, Pastor, I've been dealing with this joker too long. I don't have the grace to do it anymore. Right. And sometimes it go down like that. We know we live in a day and time where the average marriage is 8 years and 2 months.
Right. Yeah.
And only 34% of African Americans are married right now. And 50 years ago, it was in the 80+%.
Yeah.
They said in the next 20 years,
it's going to be a teens.
18%.
17%. That's where we are.
We're in a crisis.
We are in a crisis. You got to make up in your mind to fight for your marriage. One of the things that we do that has helped us is that we date each other every week. There's 168 hours in the week. We always date on Friday, sometime even Tuesday, because we're empty nesters. And when I'm out of town on a Friday, maybe preaching at another church, we'll go out on Thursdays.
Right.
Because I understand, my mom always taught me, what you put in your wife is what's going to come out of her.
Right.
It took me a while to figure that out.
Right.
But I'm grateful that I figured it out. Another thing that's helped us is we believe in having hard conversations.
Right. See, that's part of it when you say...
I also want to reference, too, that a lot of his testimony, he kind of references his mom, who was kind of, definitely helping the mom and supporting, not the mom, I'm sorry. The mother, his mother was definitely helping his wife, get through and fight through this difficult journey. But I just wanted to make a note that he often references his mom, kind of giving the wisdom and advice. I mean, I'm sure if I dig a little bit more into him, he'll kind of share what his father or his brothers or whatever the men on his family and his group, what they have had to say about his situation and his actions and, how he's gone about it. But it's so interesting that he always notes his mom.
What you're saying, what wisdom would you give to somebody? I think that people today don't want to have honest conversations, hard conversations. That, for instance, anytime somebody sits down with you, meets you, says you're cute, but you're a little bigger than I'm used to, we kicked it off with a hard conversation. So I'm not offended in the truth.
That's not a hard conversation. That's someone being a jerk. a hard conversation would have been to have said those comments and kind of been like, yeah, you're a hard, I'm used to 125, but you're a hard too. What can you do to make yourself more pleasing to me? Because this is tough for me. And then her response could have been, yeah, because, I'm about to push 2, so if this is going to work out, meaning you saying you want to be with me, I'll lose the weight if you do this, this, and that. That's a hard conversation. But that little, just because, he said this to me. No, he was just being a jerk. Look, don't do that. Don't.
Right? So I think that people need to realize if they want a relationship, it's okay to be honest and have those conversations. It doesn't mean that I don't want you. It just means I'm sharing this. I'm interested, but this is what I would like. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I think we've got a lot of people, too, today that are giving advice, yet have no experience.
Yeah,
I call that
They talk the talk. But
don't walk the walk. My husband and I were talking about, I call that the new artificial intelligence. You have a lot to say.
I wish you guys could have seen this moment in person. So the first time this happened where they wanted to talk at the same time, and I know this is such a big debate. But I'm going to note the moment. So the first time where they kind of interrupted each other, the first time that happened, she stopped talking and let him have it. This time it was so interesting because they're sitting there talking. First, she kind of had her hands folded and she's about to, say what she was going to say. And then he, steps in, and normally she'd stop. I was expecting her to stop like she did the first time. But she grabbed his hand, like tried to rub his hand, and she tried to keep talking. And then she stopped. That's when he said, you got to walk the walk or talk the talk or whatever it was. But she kind of finished the sentence. And then she went on to complete that thought. She is so interesting. I just love to observe. I had to let you guys know that. So I'm at point 4619. So if you want to go see that little note, feel free to just go there. But that is letting me know that the shift in her power is back. She's here. She's about to tell us that she's about to sell her product, probably, because that power shift was undeniable. Okay.
Or like a week or two later, we saw each other every day. I'm like, hey, you're losing weight.
Yeah.
She's like, you told me I'm bigger than what you used to, so I'm making it happen.
Yeah. Really.
And it wasn't from
meeting his needs with no agreement.
So when you look at that, what was that? Would you feel like that was motivated from a healthy mindset?
Of course not.
So
of course
it was approval.
Complete. It was. If this is what you want, this is what I'll give you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad they addressed that, because that's real honesty right there. Super unhealthy, because again, according to her, that was their harsh conversation. But that's why I said no. He was just being a jerk, and then clearly, him being a jerk worked with his little tactics of, I'll get her to slim down. And that's what she did. And now she's looking back and saying, yeah, that was totally not healthy.
And it wasn't a situation where you were starving yourself unhealthy and being bulimic or nothing, was it?
It wasn't bulimic, but I definitely was starving
herself, yeah.
I'm a big girl. Don't take much to starve.
When I met her, she was one.
Don't take much.
When I met her, she was 175.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm used to 125 too.
Yeah.
She 5'6", 175, and she was the wrong color.
Right.
And I was used to
that part.
So I'm like, man, you messing up my whole flow. Because I'm going to a predominantly Hispanic and black school.
Right.
She was at the white school in our neighborhood, which I didn't go there because they didn't allow you to play quarterback. So I had to use my uncle's address to go to school in the hood. So that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
Because that's back. We're both graduates of 1991.
Yeah, we still ended up together.
Yeah.
So we know there was a God thing, but
yeah.
So you tell me, so what made you keep coming back to her? She's not your preference.
She lived down the street.
I would always feed him.
So you said convenience.
Very much.
Oh my goodness.
All my other girlfriends live 30 minutes away.
Where's the cringe button when you need it?
This sounds terrible. This is getting worse and worse
and worse.
But I would always feed you.
At least someone remains in reality after all of this. I'm thankful, because What? Oh my gosh, excuse the car. Like I said, I'm outside. Everyone's enjoying their summer. Okay, let's get back. Sorry, okay.
She would feed me.
He always had a meal ready.
Oh man, listen.
I said, women, you got to feed him.
And she would give me money. She worked at Lane Bryant.
Can we kill that advice? Clearly feeding him and effing him does nothing. I mean, it didn't... Okay, just to let people know, there are marriages where people don't even cook at home. Their thing is traveling and eating. Now, does it have to be that extreme? No, because does that mean that they eat out and travel every single day? No, but what that does mean is those people's priority to have some like fresh hot meal every day, they've worked it out. So to tell us that feeding him and effing him is one of the ways to keep that strength alive, honey, you're losing us.
I'm like, this girl's
you're
a senior
losing
in
the
high school
host.
working at the mall. I'm like, and then again, when we would talk, we had chemistry.
We did.
She just wasn't my preference. And see, I got a lot of friends that are single right now.
Yep.
That are divorced, single. They want exotic.
Right.
I'm like, some of y'all need to get you an auntie.
That's right. That can make a
That's a whole
biscuit.
Hey, I'm qualified. I'm an auntie. This is why I actually am so against this, because it just sounds so boring. No, you need to find a wife who matches the intensity, whether it's, sexual. Some people love to bing, 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 bing. Okay, get it popping. Some people once a week. And there's a man out there who's like, if we could do once a month. Everyone's priorities are different, and it's just so frustrating for them to kind of keep boiling it down to like, all you have to do is have your fun with those girls that you really want, and then when you're ready to have life that is stable and you can have kids and it'll be in a healthy environment, you can go on and get an auntie. What a false reality. That's wild. Wildlife. We're living wildly.
Different conversation. So my wife's like, baby, what is that supposed to mean? You saying I'm auntie? I said, baby, you are auntie.
That's all right. It's okay.
I said, you used to be exotic.
I used to be.
Well, you a grandma now.
I'm 52.
Even the other day I told her, I said, you auntie exotic.
Yes. That's right. I'll take it.
So even though you say that she's not your preference, clearly you're attracted to your wife.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
What are you attracted to?
First of all, she's beautiful. I love her brains, her mind. I'm attracted. That's the first thing I was attracted to. But then I had to pivot because she said it earlier. I was used to, heavier chest meat, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Heavier chest meat.
Yeah. And then smaller in the other areas. Yeah. So I had to really pivot.
So I don't want to downplay this, and that's why I'm stopping this. It is really important for your husband, your partner, to be seriously attracted to you. So I'm not gonna get on him like, oh my gosh, he's being so degraded, This is the part where it's not fun to hear, but you should definitely be super attracted, like, oh my gosh, I gotta calm myself down when I see her. Because otherwise, what's the point? If you're not burning to bang, I'm not getting married. So I just want to pause that. I want that to for you to consider that it's nothing wrong with being super attracted to your partner, both for the woman, but the man definitely needs to be attracted. Women, I think it's almost as equally as important, and I think the Lord knows that. So I'll just leave it at that. It's important.
You know what I'm saying?
To the opposite.
Yeah, to the opposite. And I made the adjustment. And I have for almost 35 years now.
Have you ever apologized to her for all the stuff you took her through?
Absolutely.
What was that moment like?
Man, I'll never forget. After I found out I wasn't going to prison, I got probation.
For 4 years.
For 4
Which
years.
Was
We're coming to an end. I am so proud of us. We are almost at the end because we have been on a journey.
I want to back up. By you knowing this man was like this,
right?
What made you decide to marry him?
I thought that the title husband would change him. I did. I walked in thinking that if he was my husband and I was his wife, that a title could make you change. I learned very quickly that titles do not make people change.
So I just have to pause that right there because now we're seeing the character traits that kind of let people stay in these type of situations. She said, I thought the title would make my husband change. She thinks she can change people. We're just going to leave it at that.
I also thought that if he would own me, I wanted to be Mrs. Steele. If he had ownership, then he would treat me accordingly.
Oh, God.
I had to learn that way that wasn't true either.
My God.
And so I really, I just knew that if we could just be united, that would make a man change. But it does.
So she hit it right on the nail. Like, she noticed the treatment that was not correct, but she continued on anyway, and she thought maybe if the title is received, then the treatment would change. But that is actually the real red flag. And so many of us, I've been in that situation too. This is how I know. That's a red flag. If they are not moving in a way that you feel respected now, and you can't express that if things don't align or change, or like, this is not okay. You can't just, bear that pain and think, you know what, I'll just suck it up, buttercup, 6 more months and it'll be different. No, this is not a job. They are not paying you a paycheck and promising you that new position because it's going to be available. Like, that's a legitimate reason to suck it up, buttercup, because that's the contract, you're signing up, you are agreeing to reimbursement, etc., etc. But relationships, people, you know how we say we wouldn't let our friends treat us badly, we wouldn't let our family members treat us badly. That lets me know that you've been treated badly, because for you to think in this situation that you're getting the red flags, they're being harmful at this point. It's not even just little things. They're being harmful. This is a really stressful situation. We've all heard or known someone in that situation where someone's cheating or just being devious. That situation's so heavy. It's stressful. So, just my heart. But, and I have to put that strong, but that's a role that you have to break out of, and I really do promote that at QMeHealth.club. This version of a woman right here, there's so many women where that makes sense. Like, yeah, I'm just, he's a little rough, or he kind of doesn't respond when I do this, so, maybe he just doesn't want to talk about it. No, that's actually showing that you are not able to completely express yourself in this situation. And unfortunately, because you aren't able to express yourself, you're closing yourself down and you're justifying it as, well, if I suck it up, things will change. And you don't deserve that. That's actually a false belief, and you could break that chain today. And what does that mean? You have to rebuild that power back in your mind. You have given this person way too much power. You have given the wrong person power who has shown you no reason to give it. And so because you're used to that dynamic, now it's showing kind of your home life. When you really dig down into it, you got to break that chain. This is why I did the video, because she does so well at this, just being vulnerable and being transparent about her way of going about this relationship. Because at the end of the day, it did work. She did get the man. They're married. But I'll ask that question at the end. Let's keep going. I just had to stop that and let that simmer. Maybe when I make this YouTube video, I'll make a little sound effect. I'm into the sound effects. So if you like the podcast, if you like the sound, baby, tune in because yeah. Let me just shut my mouth and keep going. Okay.
Doesn't. Plus, I needed to change also. We were two teenagers getting married, and I was looking for fulfillment. I was wanting to fulfill a void that I was missing. Of course, that void could only be filled by Jesus. I didn't know that then.
Amen.
But when I found out I was pregnant, before we got married, I ended up getting kicked out of my house by my parents. They were very upset by me, with me, and was moved into his parents' home, who were bishop and first lady. And I got thrusted from a Catholic lifestyle to storefront.
Parents was hesitant about letting their child move into the pastor's house? I wonder why. Let's find out how old they were, shall we?
Front Pentecostal, tambourine, getting healed, the same 30 people getting prayed for every Sunday church. And when I was in that environment, I didn't know what was going on. I was the project every Sunday because they were trying to push me down, I thought.
Amen.
And because I wouldn't give in, I have a demon now. And so I was thrust.
So I just have to pause it because that shows how strong-willed she was. These people wanted her to be like them, and baby, that's how I knew she had power, but it's just misdirected. Okay.
Her and I, we're proof, we're evidence that grace still works. Because there's no way in the world, and that's why we can write a book and talk about, we went viral because I made a comment from my pulpit. I said a man needs the 3 P's. He needs pasta, peace, and I'll let everybody else fill that other P in. And then
Prosperity?
Sure.
Perseverance.
Purpose again. You said purpose. That's purpose. I got it. Purpose.
And the D's were a woman needs dedication, dollars, and then the other
Discipleship.
Discipleship. There we go. Amen. Dedication.
Or discipline.
Right. So from those letters, we sat down together. We were having dinner, and he said, we should do all the letters A through Z.
Yep.
And we sat together and wrote it out and worked together. And
like the B's are, you got to believe in each other. The other B is you got to bend. For instance, my wife came to me about a month ago. She said, baby, I want to go hiking today. I'm like, I'm up here watching Netflix. I'm good. But then I realized I got to compromise. I got to bend. And we went hiking. She wanted to go play pickleball.
Right.
I didn't want. I'm like, man, I'm off on Mondays because every Monday I quit the ministry because Sunday I preach twice. So Monday's my day to just kind of kick back. We have Monday at Mom's with our grandkids and our adult children. But she wanted to go play pickleball. So we got to learn how to bend. We got to believe. What's the other B, if you remember?
Well, I know for bend too, though, a woman needs to allow to bend to her husband and let him lead. That's another way of bending.
You're going to get in trouble for that.
You got to bend and let him.
Counsel. My whole podcast counsel. It was great knowing y'all for the podcast. We had a good run. Told these women to bend to their husband.
It lost everybody.
I'm sorry so much.
Okay.
I did not endorse the words of these guests. I did not stand beside them. My God.
I mean, I'll touch on that in a bit, but, it definitely does cause an uproar. But we understand why ladies are saying, I'm not about to follow that man because the situation be foolish. So, we'll touch on it, but we're at the end. Hang in there. We're almost through. They're going to wrap it up. And then we'll touch on all these delicious topics on why I still think I have a message that you're going to be surprised to hear at the end of this video.
That's good.
The other B's you got to build. You got to build with
build together. You got to believe. You got to build. You got to bend.
Yeah.
Even we talk about the S word and the S's. You got to submit.
Yes.
That word submit means to yield, to give in, and I believe that goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Like
submit you one to another.
Yeah. She said, I want to go play pickleball. That's not what I wanted to do.
But you did.
But that's what we did.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
That's fun.
See what happened. Great time. Even the hiking thing.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
It's great. Yep.
And when you think about a marriage, those are a lot of days. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a lot of days throughout your marriage, years. And so why don't you add a wrinkle to your brain and say, hey, let's go and do a pottery class today.
Right. Exactly.
Let's go canoeing today. Let's just do stuff, because at the end of the day, life is meant to be explored.
That's right.
And so if you become that person, be like, I don't want to do that. Because you're like, dang, I'm trying to do something, I don't want to do that. And you just never want to do anything.
Right.
You're going to find somebody else to do it with.
Exactly.
You absolutely will.
One of the probably the worst times I got mad at her, she scheduled a cruise. I was hot. I'm like, I do not want to be on the water for 7 days. You got me twisted. I'm not even wired like that. We got on that cruise. I had such a... I done been on 13 cruises now. We just went on the cruise for her 50th birthday last year.
Yeah, because you can put the phone away and disconnect. So I knew it'd be great
in the safe. We had our kids on there. We had so much fun. And then we did one for 3 days. I was hot. Yeah, I'm like, we can never do that again.
Well, I was too short.
Too short.
Which is a great time for the cruise that we're doing on October don't quote me, 19, 16, whatever it is. It's going to be a link in the description with the Tom Joyner Foundation, the Dear Future Wifey podcast. That's live on the cruise. Set sail with us. The link is in the description, and make sure you...
All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up their video. And so now I want to wrap up why I have made this the first episode. They talked about so much. This video had so much and so many things that we can unpack here. And so I'm just going to get started and break it down from why I loved their story, why I think it was so explosive, and why the internet went so crazy. Everyone can understand what that chemistry feels like. And they described it really well. I mean, you could have thought really little about it, but one thing that they highlighted was, you know, he normally had a way of going about dating girls. But with her, they ended up talking for hours. And for some reason, you know, that long day of conversation and them talking about their lives, it made them feel connected. And then once we started hearing them talk, we found out, oh no, they actually, you know, met each other when they were young, and, you know, they went to different high schools, but they still knew of each other, and they tried these different, you know, dating styles and patterns of getting to know each other. And the one thing I had to point out is that chemistry, which I think often all of us struggle to really oh my goodness, I can't even say the word differentiate. Yeah, from having someone who has chemistry because you guys have familiar experiences, aka how you grew up or what you're into or some of your goals that you want to do. Those things often bring chemistry to people. And sometimes we aren't really good with identifying, okay, yes, this person brings chemistry, but this person brings the chemistry of all the trauma or the toxic traits or experiences that really made us uncomfortable or angry or, you know, shut us down. And so, well, because we've never talked about these experiences for, you know, various reasons, when you finally do get a chance to meet someone who you feel understands that crazy toxic family life, it's intoxicating. It's intoxicating. So I can totally see how they, you know, got together and fell into this. I mean, I am an American Black woman. I get it. And I think, you know, if you're in a different culture, you may have different standards and ways of, you know, dating and traditions that, you know, when you see this, it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. But being an American Black woman, this makes total sense. And so now I have to bring in the red flag, right? Because that's our culture word for the millennium? Yeah. 15 years. I had to write it down. She said, I was waiting for 15 years for him to, you know, what is it? The girlfriend to wife pipeline? And so immediately, just like everyone has commented what this type of love was, they labeled it the struggle love. I get why people say that. Who wants to wait? Who is signing up and saying, yeah, 15 years, sign me up? No one. But because people don't understand what that waiting, that intense, almost satisfactory. Like, as we're hearing her story, she was pretty content about, as long as he loves me and likes the other girls and I get that number one spot, I'm okay. And so, because this is the religious part of the channel, right? We believe in God. I have to bring up the story of Leah. Do you guys remember the story of Leah? And it was Jacob and Rebecca, right? The two sisters and Jacob. And I want to just highlight, for anyone who just hasn't, you might not know the story at the top of your head. So now I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis. We know that when Jacob, he had all his, stuff. He had stuff, okay? He's dealing with the father. He's trying to make some trade with some cattle. The father knows that Jacob is interested in Rebecca. So he's like, oh, if you want to marry my daughter, no problem. Just work for me. That'll be fair trade, because, biblical back then, they were super big into like some type of trade for their wife. So you had to let the family know that, okay, you're going to be able to take care of my daughter, provide for her, and you trading these items is going to satisfy me, the father, and my family to let go of our daughter, because typically the daughter was helping out in their household, etc., etc. So when we first meet this Rebecca and Jacob, we first understood that Jacob had no problem waiting for her for 7 years. So I just want to kind of give that background, that's the first set of relationship style. And then we get introduced to Leah. And so unfortunately, Leah is the father's second daughter, but she's the oldest, and Rebecca is the youngest daughter. So of course Jacob falls for the youngest daughter, but the father, up to some scheming ways, decides to trick Jacob and say, all right, on the 7-year anniversary, were you supposed to go get it popping with Shorty because that's your reward? Yeah, I'm gonna give you Leah instead. So boom, Jacob sleeps with Rebecca, and he thinks he sleeps with Rebecca, and then he wakes up and realizes, oh my gosh, it's Leah. So then it becomes this big debacle, blah, blah, blah. But the reason I bring this up is because God really showed us the tragedy of Leah. And she's not the only one who has experienced this tragedy. It's actually repeated in the Bible a couple of times, but her story highlights it so well. And so once she marries Jacob, is still pretty upset about it, but he says, look, I want to marry Rebecca because that's who he loves. He waits another 7 years, they get married. And in the midst of that 7-year waiting period, Leah constantly fought for this man's heart. Every time she slept with Jacob, she was dying to have a baby. And every time she had a baby, she would tell God, maybe this is the way, this is the one, the child who will bring his heart to me. Second child, maybe this is the one who will turn his eyes to me. It was just like, she wouldn't give it up. She wouldn't give it up. And so you'll have to read that for yourself. It's a great story. But as I was listening to this couple, that's just the first kind of spiritual battle that kind of popped into my mind, in terms of that guy, her husband, that was the host and his podcast guest. The husband and the wife, they're strong people. They weren't weak-minded people. Like he said, when he was young, he was super popular. So he definitely knows, how to get a certain type of girl and do whatever he wants. And she, even though she presents very soft and sweet, once you got to hear her story, she was actually quite aggressive. I mean, who goes to an ex-girlfriend and tells her, yeah, can you give your ex-boyfriend my phone number? That's an aggressive move. That's aggressive. So I just want people to kind of understand that aggression does not come in one form. A player does not come in one form. And so even though, we're watching this podcast like, oh my gosh, he's trying to play her, or oh my gosh, she's so dumb for staying with him. No, these sound like two people who were on the same page and had different ways of going about it. One point of the story, he says, when she got pregnant, and that was the big internet debacle. Like, what? You got pregnant and you decided to drop out of college? Not go to college because you had a full ride? Like, that sounds insane to anyone who hears it, but that lets me know the type of person she is. Like, hello, she is in it to win it. She is not playing. She got the baby. She's ready to start this family. And I just think this is why I'm doing the Healing Network. I have no issue with their story. My issue is that they are presenting this story as the path that God designs. And I don't agree. I don't agree. When we talk about the Bible, please check out my other episodes where I did a really in-depth dive of what I believe is, faith in your walk and interpretation of what the Bible is. It's free knowledge. Everyone has the access to read it, to do your own journey. So I'm just another voice with another channel, okay? But I've always believed that God just pushes us to get to the root of the issue. Do you believe God or not? That's the root. Do you believe me or not? And when I look at that situation, it's like, it's no way you guys are believing God and you're out here cheating and lying. You guys know that these are acts that, forget being harmful to your partner, it's just very damaging to yourself. When you're back and forth that way, when you are dishonest, when you are hiding truths or hiding your intentions, it's an exhausting part of life. That's exhausting. And these are the things that when we say we got to think about, let me break down lust. Because as we were listening to their story, the internet was in a chokehold over ironing his clothes to go so he can go cheat. Like, guys, that was her taking control back of the situation. I'm sure the cheating probably got to the max. And she had to do something. It sounded like, when your brain's at that brick and it's like about to snap, you've got to do something. Like, that's what that sounded like to me. And I'm glad she did it, because I don't want you to snap from this. Like, what? No. Lust is when you don't even have to act on it. It's just the thoughts in your heart. Because that's what Jesus said. Jesus, like, listen, you guys don't even have to be sleeping around. It's you carrying your thoughts of banging this girl around in your heart. That's enough for you. And you're so worried about that, you're not worried about me, So when you see someone who is struggling with lust in those areas, just know that they're moving and they are being led by a false God. Because that's what Jesus himself said. He told the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were religious experts, these people were supposed to know God's word front and back. And yet, when he came, because God had always told them, like, I'm going to send a seed, I'm going to send the Messiah, like, my word's going to come to pass. These people literally tried to kill him. And it was always supposed to be done, but even on his way to the cross, to fulfill his purpose, because that was his purpose, he was always trying to save them. Like, listen, you don't have to go to hell for blasphemy. You can still change your way. And these people just, because they did not believe him, they just kept going back with him. Like, I'm not struggling with lust in my heart. But it's no way you can't be if you are moving like this. That's all he's saying. So I made that video because once you look past the harsh realities of, okay, yes, they were two people who had religious backgrounds or had a religious environment, they are also, or not exempt from having to decide whether they're going to believe God or not. So I loved how their story pretty much described typical families who have had some type of exposure to a tradition or a way of getting towards God, And you just saw their story of them breaking through those traditions and finding God in their own ways. And so as they are sitting in front of us now, we hope that they joke about, when he says, or when she said, I'm sorry, oh yeah, the girls believe that they are born to be a pastor's, fun time. So they'll go to the church willing to sleep with the married pastors. We hope that that experience is in the past for them. If that experience is not in the past for them, they have done the best they could with the faith that they have in God. And that's all we're seeing is two people who are proclaiming their love for each other, and they're proclaiming that God helped them remove their negative behaviors, which, as we've seen from the get-go, the cheating, the lying, the low self-esteem by doing too much and not walking away or not making personal investments for you that might have suited you better in that time. They work through it. If you don't want to do a relationship like that, take those red flag warning signs and you do have to walk away. Otherwise, you're going to deal with this. And so that's where I'm going to end it today, with some hope that this was not negative. I think this was a really encouraging story. I think a lot of us struggle with these type of problems more than we think. When it comes to, we are at work, we have work husbands, we have friendships that, I have 3 best friends, but this one best friend, I love the most and I'll do anything. We have all these different type of relationships and boundaries that when we don't check them, when we don't get them in line, things become a hot mess. So if you made it to the end, you're like, girl, well, how the heck do I do it? I practice what I preach. First, you definitely have to trust Jesus. If you're in that hard situation time, you got to pray so that you can open up your mind to see a new way. 2, do some real life action that will get a result today. Everyone loves to listen. I am a big advocate of listening. That's why I started this podcast, because I love to listen, but I have to do. So I am a planner babe. I love all that. Sit down and write and put your stickers and journal. Girl, put it on. Open the iPhone app. Get the notes section. Start typing. We have to get to the root of it. QMeHealth.club offers super easy tools to just help you get a piece of paper and pen and really confront some issues that have been driving your mind crazy. If you don't know the next step on what to do, I love the mind, body, and spirit. I have a book. You can check it out on QMeHealth.club. I have planner sets. I will sit down with you. If you're not sure where to get started, just send me an email. aathenewway@gmail.com. That's aathenewway@gmail.com. Just let me know what you're going through. I'll guide you, let you check out that website to see what is it sparks your need, what kind of jumps at you first, and we'll go from there. I'm a one-stop shop. I love the membership things. I think on YouTube, we still have to say subscribe. So subscribe to my channel, please. Come back. If you like what you're hearing, come back. When you're checking out the QMeHealth.club, you're going to see all type of services and products. We have services that you can physically create something all by yourself if you're all independent and want to do it on your own by giving yourself some mental time. Or if you want a little bit more guidance, I have products that you can download, products that you can get sent to you if you like that paper, fill, and copy. And I love a good gift, so trust me when I say if you purchase a planner set, I mean it when I say that you are going to get a really nice gift sent to you. It's going to be ready to go when you get it. It's going to be tailored to you. You're going to have a nice sit down with me so that I know what your actual needs are. I don't want to give you anything that doesn't fit your life. I'm very personal. This is the Healing Network for the personal work. I am your host, Chelsea T. Again, if you want to check anything out, look on my IG at AP_QueenMe. And you will find all things about the body. I'm going to start that back up soon. You'll see the history of me just trying to revamp as I've grown. I'm just so proud. But yeah, go run my follows up on IG. It's pretty quiet there. All right, into the next one. Take care, guys. That's the best you can do.